listening to Nuzzle Live from Asteroid G, going to a hotel to find our siblings. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Your buddy Mike the Ghoul, posing as the help to get inside and get access to a killer cult of death satanic people. We're gonna have some fun talking about this one.
We are. This is an interesting one to cover for two reasons. One, I know for a fact you have not seen Ready or Not or its sequel, because we've discussed this before. So you're going into this whole concept fresh, and I'm curious about your perspective on it. Whereas I have seen those other two movies, which feel like they're part of the same genre, and I have a completely different perspective on this movie, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. So, They Will Kill You is a movie about Zazie Beetz' character, Asia Reeves, going into a hotel under a false identity. And it's almost not even just a hotel. It's like a whole living complex for this group of rich elites that live there. And she's there ostensibly just to clean, but she's really looking for her sister, Maria, who was last spotted there a month or so earlier and then disappeared. And Asia, years before, tried to help her sister flee their abusive father. Asia ended up shooting her father, but not killing him, and going to prison. And her sister ended up back with her abusive father. And now, all these years later, she feels like she abandoned her sister. Her sister feels like she was abandoned. And in trying to get her sister out of this place that she thinks is just dangerous for general reasons, she ends up realizing that she has to save her sister from an evil demonic death cult that must kill someone every few months. When they kill them and why is not entirely clear, but they have to do murders every once in a while just for the sake of. And Asia is now the one served up on a platter, apparently, unless she can fight her way out.
And can she?
Yes,
boy, oh boy,
she really can.
Boy, oh boy.
They show very early on she learned to fight in prison, and she's very good at it.
Yeah, we just watched another movie. This gave me vibes of not quite like, The Bluff that we just covered a little bit, because that was much more like John Wick and all that, but like she was someone that like I was like, oh, she can handle herself, and she can handle herself just fine as well, which surprised the shit out of the satanic people for sure.
Yeah, it did. Although in fairness, the satanic people had some surprises for her that they weren't expecting either. There's no way to discuss this movie without getting deep into spoilers. Like, the trailer for it just shows some violence, and that's about it. But if we're going to discuss story, there's going to be spoilers because there's no way around it. And as we learn within, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie, so it's like first act stuff, I barely consider this huge spoilers. The demonic death cult she's battling against is also immortal, functionally. Like, Four people invade her room, including Tom Felton and Heather Graham, and she, like, murders the shit out of all of them, like, blows off heads, cuts off legs, all kinds of... She is very well equipped for a lady that was supposed to just be cleaning rooms. And... And then, like, after she runs out of there and goes out into the main hall and confronts the main person in charge of the whole complex, played by Patricia Arquette, the four dead people come stumbling out, reattaching their limbs, which heal back onto themselves. And you're sitting there going, wow, this is going to be very difficult for her to survive all this.
Yeah, I think you hear a lot in like sports the term home field advantage when it comes to like, playing on your turf when someone's got to visit you. I mean, you want to talk about being at a real home field advantage here. This group of satanic people, like, when the eyeball is following her around, that was kind of fun. Like, the movie was fun. I'll give it that.
It's over the top and really gory. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going into it, you know what you're getting. I'll put it that way. You're not getting Oscar-worthy material. No. You're getting a fun time with blood, guts, and gore, and you got that for sure. If you go into it with that expectation, you'll be happy.
Yeah. It is very, both in its presentation and its level of gore, it's very Grindhouse. It's like if Quentin Tarantino decided to make a movie about a satanic death cult. Functionally, just without his weird... There's a little bit of bouncing back and forth in time, but it's definitely without as much Tarantino-y timey stuff as you'd expect, and a whole lot less focus on feet.
Yeah, good point.
But no, I did enjoy the movie for what it was. I don't think, like, even if you extract it from everything else that's coming around it, which we're going to discuss in a little bit, even
Mhm.
on that perspective, I don't think it's a perfect movie. It's uneven in places. The action comes at an uneven pace. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
very serious, sometimes it's very goofy. It suffers sometimes from tonal issues, and it also, as I mentioned before, is not completely fleshed out as far as its plot needs to be. Like, we know that, as is established in the movie eventually, for someone to join the cult, they have to kill someone else. A life for a life, as they put it. That makes sense. That's
Mhm.
a simple rule.
Mhm.
But they also have to kill people. And the movie never establishes how often they have to kill people, why they have to kill people. Is there a ceremony surrounding how they kill people? All of this is just
Mhm.
kind of vague. So you never get a real sense for how any of that works.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about like sometimes the story like overcomplicating things too
Hmm.
much for the watcher, or not explaining things enough in a way that people can understand very easily. They take too much time doing with the exposition. This hit a note that I was confused a lot. The highs were high with
Hmm.
some of the action, but even like you said, it was awkward at times. And then like some of the low points, like they just dragged, and I didn't really understand the toning and the pacing of the movie, to be honest. At that point, it was interesting.
They establish a lot of weird like backstory for characters. Like Heather
Mhm.
Graham is like a fashionista who runs a shop, and some other people do other things. And these are all backstories to establish they're rich, but none of them establish any skills these people have with killing, or how they relate to their place in the death cult or anything like
Right.
that. When you're giving someone a backstory that's detailed, it needs to tie into what they're going to provide to the movie itself. Feather Graham being a fashionista does nothing for you other than the fact that she's Heather Graham. It has no bearing on her character otherwise.
Yeah, it's nice to see her still getting work though and
It
doing
is.
well.
It is. Yeah.
She's roller girl back in the day, and Austin Powers, and
Hmm.
she was one of the great icons of women growing up actresses that I remember from the '90s and 2000s. So good to
Hmm.
see her still around doing her thing. And Tom Felton, shout out to him. Draco Malfoy's still doing work and finding forgiveness from many people who hated him over the years.
It is nice to see both of them. I kind of wish they had more
Mhm.
to do in this movie. They're both basically just
Right.
named celebrities acting as fodder, and a lot of the time they're not even on camera. They feel wasted enough that you're like, you could have gotten a character actor to do these parts instead. You just have them here so you can slap their name on a poster. And even then, I'm not certain Tom Felton and Heather Graham are the names that are really going to draw people in. It's a weird balance. Like, you expect more from Heather Graham, but you also know
Mhm.
that she's not going to bring like $20 million worth of people into the movie. So what is the
Right.
reason for having her here? Especially if she's not going to do some parody of Austin Powers character or Roller Girl or something else that she's known for.
Mhm.
She's just here to play
Mhm.
generic baddie number 3 and then die a couple times. Like, it's a waste.
It is like when things like that happen with movies and actors slash actresses, I gotta wonder, like, are they friends with somebody
Hmm.
and they're just, having a good time? Because it didn't, so you can really tell sometimes when an actor or an actress is in a movie and like they're kind of going through the motions, or they're doing someone a favor and they're just kind of like there. They at least looked like they were having a fun time in the
Hmm.
movie. It didn't look like they didn't want to be there, which I could appreciate, but it is kind of weird to your point. Like, you have fairly big names: Heather Graham, Tom Felton, Patricia Arquette, and some of them had minor roles that could have been played by any actor or actress. So I'm not sure. This was one of those weird ones where it looked like they were enjoying themselves, but it still seemed like it was wasted that they were there, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Before we continue, though, we do want to take a quick moment this week to thank our sponsor. In this modern era, there are many things that should concern you: war, famine, disease, but your basic safety should not be one of them.
Hmm.
We at Omni Consumer Products hear you because we feel like you do. We may be a massive conglomerate with offices all over the world, but in our hearts, we're still the kids building robots out of our garage, and we're still building robots to protect you. With our new ED 209 protection service, your safety will never be in doubt. Omni Consumer Products, a better tomorrow for us all. Thank you this week to our sponsors, Omni.
So yeah, it's a weird position that this film finds itself in with certain things, with how it
Mhm.
lays itself out, with with its story that is kind of uneven at times. Like, it's a good setup, don't get me wrong. Girl goes
Yeah.
into hotel goes into lockdown, she's trapped inside with hundreds of people, and then she has to fight her way through them, and they're immortal. I think the immortality is something that maybe wasn't necessary. You've got a giant building
Mhm.
with thousands of rooms in it. You didn't really need the immortality aspect, especially not the quick healing immortality aspect, to
Yeah.
tell most of the story. And there's a twist at the end I'm not going to spoil that kind of
Mhm.
ties into it, but like for most of it, it almost would have worked better if she could just mow her way through people, but it felt like there was always more that she had to fight through. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the odds are so skewed against her that you almost feel like it's comical the fact that she survives.
I mean, it really kind of makes you wonder what kind of prison she was in, right? To have the kind of fortitude to make it through a constant, never-ending barrage of undead humans that keep coming after you. So,
Well, it
I
makes me
mean,
wonder, like, they've been doing this for what, close to 200 years? Have they not
mhm.
learned basic martial arts? Like, come on.
I mean, I don't know. Like when you're immortal, I guess, why do you put in the effort to do anything? Like you don't got to worry about that. You have no fear, you have no consequence or sense, I guess. I don't know.
Feel like after a certain amount of time you'd get bored and you'd just start doing something to better yourselves a little, just in case on the off chance someone comes in that's slightly better warrior that random made number 4. Like, I don't know.
I mean, again, like with the expectation that, you're always going to live and they're always going to die because you can't die, like I guess you get lazy. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, the movie on its own is decent. I liked the grindhouse gore and horror. I thought the humor was pretty fun at times. Action's a little uneven, but the cinematography at times like really helped to balance it out and make it interesting.
Mhm.
It's good for what it is. I can absolutely see why it tanked at the box office. Like, it has a budget of 20 million, which is cheap, and it's so far
Mhm.
only made 17 and it's probably going to be a bomb. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like that's to be expected with this. This is the kind of fare that probably would have done better in a market where home video existed or good licensing on cable or something. This is a late night HBO cheapie, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think expecting it to do well at the box office is a little weird, especially when we take into account, and this is where we get to the second half of this, the fact
Mm.
that Ready or Not and its sequel, which just came out a week before this movie did, exist. And now you don't know about Ready or Not, but let me explain the plot to you. A girl
Mhm.
marries into a rich billionaire family, and they have a tradition where on the wedding night, whoever marries into the family has to play a game. They have a special box that they pull a random card out of, and then they play a game. It could be basically anything: tic tac toe, old maid, tiddlywinks, something. Normally, that's not a big deal. They just play a game and they go to bed and they're in the family, yada, yada, yada. However,
Right.
if the person who marries into the family pulls hide and seek, they then have to be hunted before the dawn comes up and be killed in a satanic ceremony, or the devil will kill the family because they failed to uphold their end of the bargain. And this only
Right.
happens once every 50 years, but it happens to the girl who marries into the family and Ready or Not. And seeing this movie after watching Ready or Not, I'm like, well, this is just a grindhouse version of the same concept.
Really was, and not as well done as those sound to
Yeah,
me. Like that sounds a little more crisp in its design, if that makes sense.
it's more focused. It has a tighter plot. The characters she's fighting against aren't immortal, so she has odds of maybe actually surviving. There's a lot that went into that movie that, and plus it's a dark black comedy, which also helps, which this one kind of is, but in a different way.
Mhm.
It's just more focused, I think it is. And I haven't seen the sequel. The sequel's not playing anywhere where I'm at because I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So I'll see it at some point. But even just like that thing is, Ready or Not did it so well. Do we need 2 more movies doing this, basically?
I mean, we'll find out the feels about it when I watch the other two Ready or Nots, because like this was fun, but it felt off to me, and
Hmm.
I didn't really quite get it. And to you describing the other two, like I kind of understand the point there of what those movies are. It's a little more crisp in its message
Hmm.
compared to this just like, a never-ending stream of death and destruction that is fun, but it wasn't explained very well.
Yeah. No, it's tighter in the other movie, and that's my issue. So, you watching it and being like, this is good, but there's something missing. only leads me to agree with you. Yeah, so there is something missing. It's called Ready or Not. So
yes. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but this wasn't that great.
No, like I like the movie for what it is, and I think Zazie Beetz is good. I think I would watch her again in anything. She was fantastic as Domino. She's been in other stuff. She's fun to watch. She handles herself really well here, and she's probably the best part of this movie. This movie is average.
Yeah, but I mean, you feel bad kind of almost saying that because the movie was average. That like the actors weren't. The actors are doing their best and having a good
great time. Yeah,
you know, they were good. This was really the writing and just kind of the tone of the movie really let this down for the people that have seen it more so than I think the actors did, which feels bad.
So yeah, They Will Kill You. It's a fun movie. It's fun watching if you like this kind of action splatter comedy kind of thing. But as far as like what it does and how it fits into the genre as a whole, it's kind of a miss.
Agreed. Yeah, I know the genre and I know at least that the theme of this kind of like movie, it's in that vein of like, The Raid and shit like that, like some of those like real action movies, but like there are movies that are in this same kind of genre that do it a lot better. So just wait till this one comes out on streaming, Friday night with friends, have a drink or several and watch it then. Don't spend your money, unfortunately, which feels bad to say, but I mean, at least only again, it was 20 million and not 200 million to make a movie that was subpar, I guess.
I guess. And I mean, subpar maybe, like fun, watchable, enjoyable,
fun,
not just popcorn, beer, have a good time with it. Sure. Yeah, it's I don't think expecting this to be a box office success was ever in the cards.
A crisp 94 minutes, right? Like this was not overly long. It could have used a little more explanation in there. Give me 100 minutes and give me a little more exposition to explain things a little more.
Yeah.
But at least you didn't give me 110 minutes and still not explain everything.
Truth. That is very true. This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, getting cut down and getting right back up again. I'm your host, Mike Finkelstein.
Hey, your buddy Mike the Ghoul gonna go chop some wood with his flaming axe outside. At least that shit was fun as hell.
We will see you all next time.